now introduce our special guest and why we're here today too, big time. And we're talking about here in the studio here with us is the one and only Rafaela Goncalves. And she is a 25-year-old, wonderful, talented, multifaceted, y'all, breakthrough Brazilian filmmaker, actress, writer, producer, and also publisher. And we have the pleasure of having her here with us on KROJ 101.5 FM Valley Views. Rafaela, how are you today? Tell us.
I am great just being here with you guys. I just wanted to say the pleasure is mine to be here. And it's such a lovely place and such a lovely community. And thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Awesome. One of the things we like to start off with is not just to say, how are you, but how is your mind, body, and spirit here with us?
I would say really at home, first of all. And always in sync. I feel those three parts of ourselves are always in sync. And just really excited to be here and to be able to help so many other filmmakers, especially now that I'm also a producer, not only an actress, and I'm just coming out of a film festival route with one of my first ever film that I shot, and I am just really happy and grateful to be here.
Yeah, no, and film in the film industry, entertainment industry, it's a big gamut. There's so much there, but I want to really take it back to just tell us a little bit about just your childhood and then just growing up, and then the intersectionality of your childhood with filmmaking and really storytelling, which is really what it comes down to as well, you know?
Absolutely. I was meant for it. I grew up putting on shows for my family, like one woman show. I would do everything, and especially with my cousins too. Okay, I'm not gonna take all the credit, but it was no surprise when my parents tell me that at like 5 or younger, I came to them and I said that I wanted to be an actress in Los Angeles. I had never been to Los Angeles and I barely knew what an actress was, but I used to watch Hannah Montana and I wanted to be the next Hannah Montana, and she was my idol.
A big shout out to Hannah Montana.
Yes. And so I used to not only put on shows for my family, but all kinds of art, you know. Yeah. I grew up painting and playing music and singing and dancing, and I started acting classes when I was like 12 with like improv, because believe it or not, I was actually very, very timid. I was very shy, and my parents were like, so if you want to be an actress, I guess, you know, we got to work on that. You
can't be shy. You know?
You're not going to be putting on shows for your family forever. Yeah. But so that was my childhood, very fun with my family. Family was always, you know, the basis of everything for me. I always was really supported by my family to take all of these crazy classes that I wanted, even like fashion lab and martial arts. Like I went all kinds of places with my extracurricular classes, and my family really supported me. My mom, she was a professional dancer, so, you know, like arts is in our DNA. My dad plays music too, so I grew up like that, and always knowing that I wanted to move eventually to the United States to get my bachelor's in acting. So when I was in high school in Brazil, all of my friends were like studying so hard to get into med school or like law school. And I'm like, I'm going to go to an acting school in Los Angeles. And everybody was like, okay, but what are you actually doing?
Yeah.
Like,
how did that feel? Like, you know, because I feel sometimes that happens a lot with artists, you know, whether it's visual performing, it's like, folks don't always see that necessarily as a serious career, you know? Like, did that kind of discourage you, or did it motivate you more, or did it make you double think about that? Like, you know?
I think everything all at once, you know, because especially now that I am a filmmaker, I see how much, you know, how serious this is, and a career and a business, and how much work it's put into it. And for the regular audience, they only see the movie at the movies, you know, they don't see all the work that was put into it, all the money, all the time. And so I understand where they come from with like, okay, and also like not everyone gets famous or anything, you know?
Right.
And that's not the point, you know, like, not if you're like a filmmaker, of course, you want the recognition, but it's for the arts. And so I used to see that as like, I just didn't understand, you know, like, what do you mean a plan B? I don't have a plan B. And trust me,
like
if I had
this is my plan right
here. I was like, and I even went to a therapist to like really, it's well, I don't know the name in English, but it's basically like a therapist that you go to make sure that you're following the right career for you.
Yeah.
And
well, what do you call that therapist in Portuguese, I guess?
terapia ocupacional.
Terapia pasional. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
it's basically for your occupation. So,
okay,
you know,
okay.
so, and it was it. I was like, yeah, no, this is it. And it was 100%. I was doing the right thing. I always saw myself as a performer, and I wanted to tell stories. And I wrote my first book when I was 14. And so, you know, one thing led to the other. And I mean, it wasn't as simple as I'm saying. You know, of course, it was very hard to get where I'm at today. It's been years that I'm, you know, on this journey. But, you know, like, you just can't give up. And whenever someone saw
that book of yours was a bestseller too, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so I wrote this book because it was my first year of high school, and in Brazil we have 3 years of high school.
Okay.
And it was a school project that I really got into because I just always loved books, reading, and I always wanted to read something of mine. And I really got into it. It was selected like the best of the year for my school, and then
there you go.
A publisher saw it and they were like, "Can we publish your book?" I was like, "Yes, please." And then they even asked me to draw for the book, and I was like, "Okay, let's do it. Why not?" And you know, like, it was very unexpected all the success it got, especially because I ended up being invited to be one of the torchbearers for Rio 2016, like the Olympic Games, and I was like,
and that was
okay.
all because of that book.
Yeah,
too,
because
right?
of that book. It sold in one of the biggest book fairs in Latin America, which is coincidentally in my city where I was born. And you know, like, I also ended up going to a lot of, especially public schools in Brazil, to give lectures on don't give up on your dream. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing when I started making the book. I did it for the passion, and then look where I'm at right now. And I wasn't expecting any of this, but like, why couldn't you also be here? You know?
Right.
So,
and that was because of a book, which, you know, what gravitated to me, like, some of that part of the book is the coming in age of a girl who was bullied because she had two different colored eyes.
Yes,
you know,
heterochromia.
Yeah, and what even got you to write about that? You know?
Yeah. Well, first of all, what got me into writing that was I had just recently found out that people could have two different colored eyes, and I thought it was fascinating and beautiful, and I was like, oh my God, I want to write about it.
Yeah.
And then I was reading a lot of books at the time, and a lot of different kinds of books, and I, you know, back then I didn't have the, you know, structure that I now have on telling a story, and so I didn't know how it was gonna end with the middle of it. I just started writing.
You're like, let me
and
just write.
yeah, and so I was like, okay, this is really cool, like the two eye thing, and you know, like I was always very passionate about, you know, being against bullying and all that. So I was like, okay, I want to put that in my book because I think it's an important theme, and also some family drama. I love, like, you know, because she doesn't know.
Life wouldn't be life without a little family drama.
You know.
Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, and then.
Hey, but much love to the fam.
much love.
Course,
but yeah, like in the book, she doesn't know where her family is, and there's some love story too, because I'm a romantic. I'm a hopeless romantic. So I was like, I gotta put some love in there too.
Of course.
And now that I read my book, I'm like, she did her best at 14. Now, it's funny because I graduated last year with my master's in producing, and my thesis was based on that book. So like 10 years later, it's like, but then of course I changed. The story changed. I learned so much, and the book is the short film that I shot for my thesis, which is also a proof of concept for a feature, is also about this girl that has heterochromia, and she's also bullied for it. But then I delve deeper into our own, the way we see ourselves, and like how, you know, like sometimes it's not even about you, it's about the other person that is bullying you.
Yeah,
and
exactly. They're just projecting.
Exactly,
you know?
they're just projecting. And like, the reason why I chose the two different colored eyes is because I wanted to show that it doesn't matter what it is. You know, people that are bullies, they're gonna be bullies no matter what you have. So like, if you have different colored eyes, if you are, if you wear glasses, if you're like nerd or whatever, you know, like. It doesn't matter. Like, they will find a way to like criticize you, and so we have to see our differences as something that makes us special, and it's beautiful, and that's so rich. And so the book is about acceptance, and the short film is also, but then it tells the story of a Brazilian American, because I moved here at the beginning of my adult life to get my bachelor's and then my master's, and so it's like it also reflected my duality of coming from Brazil but also living here. And how
was that for you? Because I know, like, we all experienced some of that too, like Aurora, I'm sure, and Derek, like when you have to like come into new environments altogether and have to adapt but still like maintain your own, right? So how was that for you in general, like coming from Brazil, like half your life, your childhood life really, and then into your adult life here, and also not just to come here but because you're trying to pursue your dream too and your passion?
So it's really funny because I feel I grew up really admiring the North American culture, which obviously I still do, but I feel once I moved here, that's when I started admiring even more the Brazilian culture too, because I was away from it. And I never left it though, like I am a very Brazilian person, I'll always be. But my career, especially because I did all my study here, I made all my connections here. My career right now is here. Like, not to say that it's not gonna go back to Brazil. Funny enough, I'm actually shooting my first feature in Brazil next year. So I am also going back home to shoot that. But it's that duality. Like, I feel both feel like home for me. Brazil will always be the home for me because that's where I'm from. But I think after so many years being here, and especially after studying so much and getting my degrees and meeting so many people, I do also want to do my part in like sharing all of that. I love when all of my Brazilian friends ask me like my experience, because when I was going through it, I wasn't really paying attention. Like I moved here, I was barely 18, and so I was still such a child, and I was going through it. And now that I look at it, like, yes, it was really hard. Like it's a big change. And I came here alone, and so like it was very. I'd never noticed when I was going through it, because I had my family that was supporting me so much, and because I was doing what I loved, which was acting at first, and then eventually I got into producing. So my experience is like much love for both sides, for both places, and all around the world. I love traveling, and if I can travel and work at the same time, that would be the dream, you know.
That's ideal right there, you know. And I just want to bring Aurora and Derek into the mix. I mean, what do you think so far about Rafaela's story here, y'all? Come on, like the storyteller herself,
I think it's inspiring. Not just like how far you've gone and all the things you've done, but the fact that you're able to go back and you're able to like pass on what you've learned to other people. Because I think a lot of times I think that's what goes wrong when people like succeed. They just like leave their place behind and they just, move on to greater, bigger things. But I think that there's such beauty and like being able to go back and giving back to your community, giving back to those who are aspiring, to be somewhere where you are. So I think I enjoy that part of your story for sure.
Yeah, Derek, what are some of your impressions?
It's inspiring, like how you came out to the U.S. like when you're 18 years old. Like you didn't know what was going to happen. Like you took a risk for a big success, and it's beautiful to look at and hear.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, again, I didn't do it alone. I had so much support from my family and friends, but it really means a lot that you guys are sharing this with me. Thank you.
I also love that your parents put you in improv. That's brave of you, because it's definitely it's humbling, but it's also, it builds up your confidence in such a way that, you begin to have like this fearlessness, and like boldness in whatever you do. And I find that interesting in the fact that you were like, you didn't care what people said. You just kind of pursued your dreaming. You didn't let anybody bring you down. And
that's probably like your parents also like helping you to get out of that shell too, right?
Yeah.
But that's like, what a way to do it, through improv.
I think everybody, no matter if you're an actor or not, I think everybody should take improv classes at least once, because it's, first of all, it's so fun. Second of all, you're breaking out of your comfort zone and you learn so much about yourself, and it's so useful in real life too, like we are always improving our life, like we don't have a script. So
hey, we're improving right here, now.
Yeah, we're improving right here. But yeah, like improv is and it was also so interesting because one thing is to improv in Portuguese, and then I moved here and I was in college and I thought I was fluent until I moved here, and I was in a school with mostly Americans, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm not that fluent. And then especially in improv, they had like inside jokes and everything that is very like North American culture. And I wouldn't get it. And I'm like, okay.
Like,
but
what
then,
was that all about?
But then you make it work, you know? I would just like suddenly start talking in Portuguese, and then, you know, we all laugh. And that's the thing about improv. It's supposed to be like, we help each other out. Like, it's yes and we are a community and we help each other. And I think that's amazing for any kind of person in any kind of career.
No, it's a great experience. And, you know, before we get into If the Shoe Fits, which is one of your latest projects that's already been released in a variety of different film festivals, let's talk about some of that Portuguese. Teach us some, you know, like what are some of the basics that, and we're not talking about like the, let's not get into like the academic style, like just like, you know, if you're walking down the street somewhere in Brazil and you see someone coming, how do you greet them? You know, like how's the Portuguese way of doing that?
Well, first of all, if you say, like, if you in Brazil, and I think you guys can also relate, I don't think it's just in Brazil, I think it's our part of our community as, you know, Latin people, but it's like we're all very friendly, you know. If you run into someone like randomly on the street, you say hi, so you can always just go, instead of, because typically I would say like, oh, you can say oi, which is like hi,
oi,
but if you say like yai, that's more like, you know, like,
all right,
it's like, hey,
Derek, yay,
you know, yay, yay,
yay,
to the bone.
You gotta practice that one.
Yay.
There it is.
And then you go like to the bone, because in Portuguese you kind of, which is so funny because that's how you're saying how are you, but we don't really say how are you. We already kind of expect that you're good, because we literally say like everything good, you know, and then you answer everything good, and you, so it's like tudo bem, e você, tudo bem,
to the bang,
tudo bem, tudo bem.
So first it's like ai,
yay, tudo bom,
to the bone.
yeah,
to the bone.
yeah,
Yay,
yay,
to the bone. All right, there, you got that one, or
To
what?
the bone? Yeah.
To the bone. Oh, all right. And then what about like let's say, I don't know, you're on a call or something, you know, and like what would be the way, like with your friends, that you would say bye, like, you know?
Well, it's funny because
bye?
in Portuguese, we, at the same time that we hug and kiss, we also say like either hugs or kisses. Like we say that as we're doing it, which is kind of funny. A friend of mine pointed out the other day, because we're very touch people. And also like we say literally like, okay, ciao, beijo. Beijo is like kisses, but you're doing it as you're, like you say it out loud as you're doing it. So if you're saying goodbye to someone, you say like ciao, beijos, you know, like, or like ciao, abraços, that's like hugs, you know? So that's something that we do a lot, and I never noticed before. A friend of mine pointed it out.
Nice. All right, so now we know. All right, ciao,
ciao, beijos.
Or ciao.
I have a question relating to language.
Yeah.
What was, if you've ever had one, like an embarrassing moment, you know, learning English and like adapting to the culture, like what is one of your most embarrassing moments?
Oh, I have so many, girl. Let me tell you. So when I first moved here, I had a really, like a much stronger accent. I went to acting school when I did like a lot of accent reduction classes, especially for being here. But you know, in the beginning, it was really hard for me to say the distinction between e and e, you know? So like if you're going to the beach and someone is a you know, like I would sometimes I would say like, yeah, let's everybody go to the or like, you're such a beach, you know, like it was really hard for me to distinguish like the two different sounds, and then I would always find myself in those situations. And even to this day, like now it doesn't happen that often, but like if in a sentence there's a lot of like you know, like, and it's always changing, sometimes I will like go full on Brazilian accent. Yeah, like that was a big one that I think happens with a lot of Brazilians. Also, like why, like whenever my mom, she cannot say world, for example. She says word, because why is it so hard to say? Like it took me forever to learn how to say like world, squirrel. Like it's so many consonants back to back. But once you know how to do it, it's so cool. Like I love being able to do it now. But it's I love languages. It's, for me, it's fascinating. Like also fun fact, when I was learning Spanish, I was coming, because my first language is Portuguese, and then I learned English, and then I learned Spanish. So when I was learning Spanish, I was having a very American accent not Brazilian. So my instructor
Yeah.
was used to teaching Brazilians with a Brazilian accent speaking Spanish. So when I would bring like a very American accent speaking Spanish, he would be like,
Wait a minute,
where
what's
did that
going
come
on?"
from? Like, are you not Brazilian? I'm like,
Yeah.
I am, but it's true what they say that like, you know, you kind of think in the last language that you learned. So when I was learning Spanish, I was kind of thinking in English rather than thinking in Portuguese, which is what you would
Yeah.
assume. But
And
yeah,
what about like that? That's interesting too.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm actually like really fascinated about too is just like that. There's even I had no idea there was like such classes as accent reduction. You know, that just
Yeah.
seems like, I mean, I get it, but it also seems to like almost like. Did you feel at all ever like that took away from your Portuguese or not? You know.
At the beginning, yeah. I mean, in the very beginning, all I wanted to do, and I think, you know, we all go through this when you go to a new place, new environment, we want to fit in, right?
Yeah.
So what I wanted the most back then is to be able to do the American accent.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, the American accent is just any other accent. Like, it's not that I'm losing my accent, I'm
Right.
learning a new one. And so I learned how to see it that way. You know, I still have my accent when I speak, but whenever I speak in, like, in an American accent, that's a different accent. Those classes were even other Americans were taking that class with me because we were all learning like the standard quote unquote American accent. So, you know, like someone from Texas versus from Boston, they would also take that class and learn the more standard. But during that class, we would also learn like other kinds of accent, like, you know, like when you're speaking in English, but you have a more German accent or a more French accent, you know, like it wasn't just to eliminate your accent, it's so you would learn different ones.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so unfortunately I did lose a lot of my very strong Brazilian accent. It's really hard for me to take that back, but every time that I speak in Portuguese for a little bit and I go back to English, I do have that accent.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Like,
whenever
comes back, yeah.
it comes back, you know, like it's part of me and I love it, you know, like we should, again, it's something that is different about us that we should all embrace no matter where you're from.
Yeah.
You know, like even if you are American and you're from a different state, embrace your accent and embrace, that's part of your story, that's where you're from, you know. But if you want to also be able to do a different accent and pretend you're from somewhere else, why not? You know,
Exactly.
learn it. It's really
Yep.
fun, actually.
Yeah, no, that's interesting with the power of like language in general, you know. Well, let's get into it. Like, I want to get a little bit more into if the shoe fits. You know,
Yeah.
you know, as I was watching it, one of the things that really caught my attention was a couple things, but one was how you played around with lighting and also like filters of like going from like black and white to color, and then kind of like even with the red heels. I don't know if I want to, you know, give away so much, but just the way that you did that part to capture like, you know, certain emotions to just the storyline, right, of like this ballerina, you know. But tell us a little bit more about If the Shoe Fits.
Absolutely. So it was my first baby, kind of, you know, because it was my first time ever producing a film, and it was during my master's right in the beginning. I did it 2 years ago, and I learned so much from it. I just knew that during that project, I wanted to talk about something that mattered to me, and I am a big advocate for mental health and like relationships, not only romantic relationships, but business relationships, friendships, family, all kinds of relationships. We're always relating to people. And so I knew I wanted to talk about that. And my dad, he always told me this metaphor that people are like shoes and you should know your size, you know, because you don't want to wear a shoe that is too small for you, because there's nothing wrong with you, or the shoe is just not a match, and then you're going to hurt, and you know, you don't want that. So I was like, let me do something with that, you know, because I love metaphors and mental health and all that. And coming from my background of being very artistic, I wanted to do it very visually, you know, so that's why I chose like the black and white versus red. I grew up painting and drawing, so for me, I wanted to tell a very visual story, especially because it's a metaphor. I also didn't want any language barrier because I wanted to show it everywhere in the world, because I think no matter where you're from, we can all relate somehow to that. So I again wanted to do it very visually, and also with music, you know, tell a story. I grew up with a music background, so that's where all those choices came from.
Yeah.
Directorially, it was also my first time directing. And I was really lucky that I was able to act as the lead. At the same time, I did have a lot of help from a dear friend of mine that was co-directing with me, because initially I wasn't going to be acting in it. I knew like it was going to be a big challenge to be directing and acting as the lead and producing, and I just wrote the script. But it was definitely a very amazing experience to do all of that at once. I also edited the film after I had to edit like 7 times to finally get to where it is, because I learned so much ever since then. You know, like after that project, I did so many others. And I see it now, and it's like I'm really proud of that little baby, you know, like, and I'm really happy to see that, you know, it's going places. You know, I had no expectations when I put it in film festivals and I applied and submit, and it got into like 12 already all over the world. It got 7 awards, and I'm like, wow, okay. I'm really happy that people are seeing this and relating to this, because I think sometimes we learn more from seeing something than just from hearing an advice, you know?
Yeah.
So that was my goal with this movie. I just wanted to put this theme and the story out there that was really important to me. That's how I think now, like, am I wearing the right shoe size for everything that I do? So that's where the story came from, and that's what I wanted to pass on with it.
Yeah. And you yourself were did you ever dance as well? Like, you know,
I
did.
Yeah? It was me in the movie, like the little kid. That's me. That's footage that my parents had of me dancing ballet when I was a kid. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, any impressions on that, Aurora or Derek, you know, when it comes to if the shoe fits?
I mean, I think it's awesome how you like blended everything, and it's honestly, it's very captivating. I don't know what you thought about it.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Like the footage, like how you.
Thank you.
Like the color matching the black and white with red, and like the details. Like when you pay attention to it, like you could like, how can you say it? It's just beautiful, you know. Yeah.
And I think the other thing, like that you know, it conveys a lot of emotions. And there was like, you know, like a couple scenes where it's like, oh, you feel for the you know, the character there, as far as you know, almost like kind of like trying to like, again, like fit in with something that's not fitting to her, you know, and it's hurting her.
Exactly.
You know, it's hurting her, and it put her in a bad place.
Exactly.
And she had to recover from that, and then kind of figure it out, like let me do this with something that actually fits me. Exactly. And not blend into something else that might not be who I am, you know?
Yeah. And once we go through any experiences like that, you know, you try so hard to make something work. It doesn't matter what it is. And it doesn't. It leaves scars, and you do change. And the process of going back to who you are is, you know, like, it's very enlightening. And you also end up becoming a new version of yourself every time, because we're humans, we're always changing, and I think that's beautiful, you know. Like, we all carry our experiences with us, as long as you use it as a lesson, you know, and to grow. That's what it counts, and that's what matters. And yeah, like, sometimes we gotta go through really not so funny, not so fun experiences that we kind of lose ourselves, but then we gotta trust that we're always gonna come back to it, and it's all up to you.
Is there anything that you've ever like felt you had to unlearn in order to succeed?
I grew up, yes, I grew up very people pleasing, and so I had to unlearn a lot of that growing up, because especially if you're an artist, you cannot make, like, not everyone is gonna like your art. And that's okay, because it is supposed to be like that, you know, like, we are different people with different experiences, and we like different things, and it's okay if people don't like it, you know, and it's okay if people don't like you even, you know, like, as long as you're being a good person and you really didn't do anything for it, you know. But that's definitely something that I think I'm always learning with every part of my life. Because what really matters in the end is what you think about yourself, and what you think are your values, and what you want to do for yourself. You know, as long as, of course, again, if you're being respectful, you know, not hurting anyone. But I think in the end, the opinion that matters the most is yours about yourself. So, and especially being an artist, you do have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, right. I mean, because there's so much pressure too sometimes,
Yes.
you know?
Sometimes you fall for it, and
yeah.
you're like, you have to go back to yourself and be like, okay, let me stay true to what I believe.
Yeah. You know, again, I'm really impressed by you, Rafaela. You know, you're 25 years old and already thinking like that. You have a good head on your shoulders. You're, you know, close to the ground. You're humble, but yet you have a lot of passion, you know, for like what you're doing. And tell us, what are some of the other projects that you have in the works that are, you know, happening? And, you know, what are you excited for that might be right around the corner?
So many things. Blissfully, because like I mentioned, I do have my thesis for my master's that I shot last year. It's still in post. I think sometimes people don't realize, and that's another thing, they don't realize how long and how much work it takes to make a film, even if it's a short.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's why they don't take our careers that seriously. But it does take a long time. I'm still editing and like I'm color correcting and doing the whole soundtrack of my short film that was my thesis. I was also acting in it, and I was producing it, and it's based on my book. And it's a proof of concept to a feature too. So right now we're finishing up post so we can put into film festivals, and
Nice.
then we can raise finance for a feature based on that. So that's one of the projects that I'm really, really happy about. I'm really excited. Can't wait for you guys to see it. And I have 2 other shorts with 2 amazing filmmakers that I grown to be really close to. Like, they're my best friends, and it's their thesis projects. And it's also in post. Blow for Blow, which was my first time co-producing, and I was also acting in it. We had our exhibition in April at the Chinese Theater this year, and it was so magical, especially because when I first moved here, one of the first places I've ever been was the Chinese Theater. And so it's crazy
Yeah.
that, you know,
This
like I
iconic
was
place,
so,
you know,
yeah,
in Hollywood. You
I
know?
was seeing myself on the screen in the Chinese Theater in the
Yeah.
movie that I co-produced. It was like an amazing sensation. I am also, like I mentioned, I'm shooting a feature next year in Brazil, my hometown actually, with a very dear friend of mine that is also from my hometown, but
Nice.
we met here in the US, funny enough. I have a few other features shooting too. I'm just really excited about like collaborating, you know, like I'm choosing more wisely now how many hats I wear at once.
Yeah.
Because
That's
yeah, I definitely learned with if the shoe fits not to wear all of them at once.
Right.
Because I do also learned that I love collaborating, you know, like I love working with other people. And so that's the whole point of my production company. It's literally called Half and Halfa Productions, as a joke, kind of, because
Yeah.
I would introduce myself as like, hi, I'm Rafa, like half of, to explain that the R in Portuguese sounds the American age. But it also really resonated with me because everything that I do, I want it to be like half me and half everyone else, you know,
Yeah.
like I want to collaborate and do everything with everyone. So yeah, like I'm really excited to be collaborating more with people as an actress or as a producer, or you know, sometimes writing, sometimes directing, first AD, whatever, you know, whatever you guys need.
there it is. There it is.
Do you have a favorite hat to wear?
That's really hard because I think my first passion will always be my, I think, biggest acting and performing, because it's been forever that I love this and I don't see myself doing anything else. And I love stepping into other characters and becoming that person, and I have so much empathy, and I love psychology, so it's like it makes sense. But producing is really, really right there with acting, because I really found this passion to not only wait for opportunities but create opportunities for myself and for other friends too, and passing on that knowledge and making it come true, because sometimes as filmmakers we just sit there and wait for opportunities, but we can be
Yeah.
creating
That's
opportunities, you know? So why wouldn't we? So producing is right there too, because I love telling stories. But everything else comes like, I just love trying new things and helping with whatever they need help with.
Yeah.
I think that's super inspiring. And I think a lot of times people like hold back a lot on, you know, what it is they want to do, or sometimes they're like, okay, I'm doing too many things, and they have this idea that like they could only do one thing. But it's like, I feel like people, you know, you set your own limits basically, you know, like the sky is the limit. And I feel like it's cool that you're able to wear all these different hats. Like, it's so like it's such a like a wholesome story, you know, like it kind of comes back to like you didn't just do what you wanted to do, but you like conquered it all, you know, you did all of it. And do you still talk to like some of those people from like school that, you know, they would ask you about like, oh, you
Oh
go to
yeah,
LA?
absolutely. Because like I understand where they were coming from, especially because everyone in my city in Brazil, like out of all of my friends and probably my entire high school, I think I was the only one out of, or like one out of three that actually moved to a different country to follow an entire career in arts, you know? Because especially back then when, you know, I first moved, you know, like it's like, are you sure? Because it's not a guaranteed, it's not a career like so many others. Not to say that other careers are easier, but there is a, you know, there is a plan that you can follow. You know, like if you're gonna be a lawyer, you know where you kind of start, and you keep doing it until you get where you want to be. With arts and filmmaking, there is no path. You know, like you're just throwing a lot of things at the wall and hoping one sticks. You know, and it's all you doing it. And it, you know, like there's no guarantee that it's even ever gonna work out. So I understand where they were coming from, but I do talk to all of them because I have so many friends from that time still, like, and they're also curious. And a lot of people that I even like, I didn't speak to them in a long time, but sometimes they comment my posts and everything like that, and I'm like, oh my god, I remember you, thank you. Like, it's like the little hug in my heart of like, okay, it's actually, you know, like they see that it wasn't just, I wasn't going crazy. I actually had a dream and I followed it.
Right? They're like, okay, she was serious after all.
Yeah, like, okay, she wasn't just saying it. Okay.
But again, because it's such a tough, like, again, because the path is not just a straight line, you know? And what about, like, did you see yourself, like, when you were younger, like, besides the acting, like, did you imagine yourself, like, also producing and stuff like that? Or did you at first, like, you know, weren't sure of like the other roles that you could play within the industry?
To be completely honest, I never even thought of it. Yeah. Like, it's not that I thought like that I wouldn't do it. I think I never really thought of everything that it takes for me to be even acting in a project. Yeah. You know, like I would watch the movies and I would be like, oh, I want to be like them. I want to act, you know, like that's the person that you're seeing, but you're not seeing everyone else that is behind the camera and doing all the work for that to happen. I never thought of like, who makes all of that? You know, like I never knew what a producer even was until I actually got into the industry and I started going to sets, and I'm like, oh, so how does it, where did it first come from, you know? And then once I learned it, I was like, you know what, I think I want to be that. I think I want to just create projects and help myself also as an actress, but also other people, you know, like let's all make something together. Who's stopping us? No one's stopping us. So that's where I came from, but I never thought of it before, like not in a way of I'm never gonna be or cannot be. I just really never thought of it. Yeah. And that was a beautiful discovery that I had while I was acting, you know, that I also wanted to do that.
That's great and beautiful, you know. I mean, it really is like so inspiring and like, again, like humbling to hear you and like the way you speak of your projects and your passion, you know. It's like definitely projecting out there, you know. And you know, your short film there, If the Shoe Fits, has been in I believe 12 film festivals. You know, you've gotten all kinds of awards, 6 awards, including the Best Independent Film at the Venice Under the Stars International Film Festival in Italy. And, you know, we just want to wish you the best, Rafaela. You know, we want to wish you the best. We're going to continue to follow, of course, your career, especially when, you know, Someone in Me and Blow for Blow are actually out as well. And before we end today's interview here with us, I just wanted to take a moment now for you to, what are some words of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with?
I would say, first of all, don't give up, because especially if you're trying to get into this world of movie business, it's not easy, and there's going to be a lot of no's. But don't give up. You know, if they got there, why wouldn't you be able to? You know, like, who's deciding who can get there? Only you. Like, keep going at it. Don't give up, no matter how many rejections. That's the first thing. The second thing is believe in yourself and also take care of yourself, you know, because it is a really tough industry. So remember to check in with yourself and take care of yourself and give yourself love and treat yourself like you would treat your best friend, you know. I would also say, don't worry about what other people think. You know, like, do you believe in it? Do you want to do that? Go. do it. Don't think what if. No, just go and do it. And then even if you don't know if you're doing it perfectly, it doesn't matter either. Like there's no such thing as perfect, especially in this industry. So you have to at least try first, and then you figure out. Like I have a friend of mine that he always says like, the Lulu is the only Solulu. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta be kind of delusional and you gotta go for it. Forget all the voices in your head. Just go for it. Just try before anything. What's the worst that can happen? Like it doesn't work. Well, you already wasn't working before you tried. So you already have to know. Try yes. So I think those are the biggest things. Like give love to yourself. Take care of yourself. Don't worry about what other people think, and don't give up, because it's your life and you have to make it count for yourself.
There it is, y'all. So you heard it
put
here
that
from
put that in
Rafaela
a frame.
herself. That's
So
right.
Lulu is the only.
I like that one actually.
Right? Well, thank you so much, Rafaela, for sharing so much of your story, your passions, and also your most current and recent work. We really appreciate you being here with us. And of course, we wish you the best of luck on behalf of KROJ and Valley Views. And with that said, we're going to get back into some music. And we'll be right back, y'all, here on KROJ 101.5 FM.